Okay, so I think we're ready now. I really do appreciate you guys staying with us, and I hope you don't regret it. Just building on what was said before, I do have to say that I'm quite ashamed of not preparing as much as I'd like, because I do feel that I have had the opportunity to meet these two gentlemen only on TEDx movies and videos, so I haven't had the chance to actually be with them, and much less with Merlin, who's just with us and joined us, I think, from Porto, right? Hi, Merlin. How are you? Can you see us? Can you hear us? Okay, great. Could we pick up a little bit of sound when Merlin is on? Because I don't think what everybody can hear. Okay, cool. So just a couple of things off the chest. I'm not going to present these people because I do a lousy job at it, and I think that we need a little bit of excitement around in the room. And I also think that most probably we're going to be cut off at 5:20. We did get off with the delay, and there's some children coming over that need to get back home at a very specific time. So we'll have to shorten this. So the only way that I think we can actually make this much better is if we can also get some of your thoughts to be shared. Okay? So I'm going to do something crazy. So first thing is I'm going to give each of these marvelous human beings a chance to present themselves through a wish. So you have a minute each. Yeah, a wish. Mas para você eu vou falar em português do Brasil, se você quiser. Tá? A gente vai falar. Como você se apresentaria se tivesse só um desejo no mundo em um minuto?
Em um minuto. Tem que falar em português?
Can everybody understand Portuguese, or should we do it in English? Okay, let's do it in English.
Okay, one wish in 1 minute. So my wish is that we as humanity, we deliver to kids, our kids, the teenagers, a game where they can play the change. So I think like there are so many teenagers all around the world, like Greta, concerned about everything that's going on, that I think it's not fair for our kids. Think about education and every stuff. It's not fair for our kids to have to fight, to march, to sacrifice, to make the change. But we're going to deliver them the responsibility to do that, right? We're not going to fix things on time. So if we can deliver them, my dream, my wish, is giving them an adventure, not a fight, not a war, not a sacrifice or march, but giving them in the form of an adventure. So they can play together, and we are part of the game. So, like, deliver them the whole planet as a game board. Oh. They have a lot of fun. They're going to change it, but with a lot of fun.
Okay, so I do encourage you to watch Edgard Gouveia's TEDx video, because it's actually really moving to see the amount of energy and excitement and the speed at which they were able to recover from one of the biggest tragedies in Brazil, which is Santa Catarina. And it's a very fun video to watch because it's very interactive. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but it was absolutely amazing. We're not talking about gamification online, and I was thinking to present Edgardo as a gamifier, someone that can promise to change the world through games, through touch, because he's a touchy guy. I wanted to hug him too. And obviously, that would be your wish, so thank you for that. Ryo, can you do the same? What would your wish be in a minute?
Okay. Throughout all my life, I was always very hurt to see people working unhappily. And I said that once, and I still believe in it, that sometimes we look to the past and we regret some things that we did as a humankind. And then we create museums to look at that and to remember. So my wish is to someday create the museum of the unhappy work. So our kids and grandkids can come back and they say, oh, I can't believe people used to go to work and be unhappy about it. And I think that's the world I would like to help to create for them.
I love it.
Don't you think this is going really well?
I love the question. I'm going to use it.
What?
I'm going to use it in the future.
Okay,
Amazing.
so you got me just goosebumps. Ryo, the first time I watched him online, I wanted to present him as the questionnaire. So he has some work that he went into indigenous communities, and he understood that he had nothing to teach them except ask questions. And so he presented an idea, which would be, what would YouTube be if we could ask questions? Is that correct? Yeah. So it's like, and I had him labeled as the questionnaire. So he's very good at questions. I had no idea that he was so brilliant at wishes. Okay, so thank you, Ryo. We'll build more on that. So Merlin, are you ready to tell us who you are through your wish?
Like,
Well, I come from a community where almost just 2% of girls and women are educated and finish the superior college or superior degree, has a superior degree. And my wish is that every girl in the world has a space to speak for herself, has the opportunity to educate herself and also to grab a seat and sit at the decision table. Because we are tired of being the one that is and we want to build the world that we deserve and our children also deserve.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So you see, we actually have too much time on our hands now. How do we make these ideas happen? Do you have any idea, Edgardo? What would be your first idea to move from, you know, a wish to realization? Is there a how? Is there a way that we could help?
yeah, we are doing it already, but actually the way that we started, I did a world round trip. I took a sabbatical, and I said, okay, how are you gonna? What's my? It's down here, over there.
Oh, is this background noise? Yeah, Marlon, can you just mute your laptop? Sorry, we're getting a horn from Porto. So you did a sabbatical? Sorry.
Yeah, I was in despair. I said, okay, after the COP15 in Copenhagen, I was there. So the one that was there, like, we don't want to talk about it, right? It was terrible. And then I realized, okay, we cannot rely on governments and big companies. They're not going to do it on time. I'm from Brazil. I'm in love with Amazon forest. I have the luck to being there like 6 times. And I grew up in a forest, like in tropical forest, south. So I'm in love with forest. Forest used to save my life. I'm an introverted person. So if you see myself in the stage, you're not gonna guess. But as soon as I can, I'm gonna hide away and be by myself. So the forest was my shelter, right? So when I talk about forest, it's not just about green or biodiversity. It's my land or my home, my mother somehow, right? And I have this promise that I would make sure that my kids and our grandkids would have this pleasure. If you haven't been there in Amazon forest, you should try. Okay. Here is something like totally transforming, right? So when I realized that we as humanity, or the big power of humanity, were not able to come together and make agreements, or maybe we do agreements but not fulfill the agreements, I say I cannot rely on them, so what can I do? And I had I have a friend that he gave me this book of the Jared Diamond, How Societies Collapse, How Societies Decide to Fail. So he was my best friend. He became my ex-friend, because when I read that, I was collapsed myself. Like, he was like proving scientifically how we are actually destroying the planet, and how we did so many times, how many cultures did it before. So I said, I'm not going to find the solution by myself, so I decided to quit everything. Nothing more is important. So I quit everything, my company, and I did a sabbatical. I told my partners that I would be 6 months out. I actually took 2 years and 7 months. And I take myself this time to say, like, what can I do to actually save the planet within 5 years? Right? Because Jared Diamond was saying, like, we have from 5 to 12 years to save the planet. I say, let's take the 5 years. So what I came up with that was the idea of how can the only way for us to do the transformation as fast as it's needed is a commotion of the whole humanity. Like, the only way is the whole humanity takes hands-on action, and we do things that many people here are doing, like planting hectares, planting forests, or transforming whole industries. But how can we all do that, not just the activists? So how our grandmas can participate in it, how our kids can participate in it. So I realized that the way to do that is a commotion. So we do that. Humanity, we move when we have a big earthquake. We all go there, and nobody needs to call us. We go like, we say, no earthquakes in Japan or Nicaragua, whatever. So how can we sustain this kind of vibration that we all go for this powerful inner call? Can be from disgrace, from tragedies, or from love, from songs, music, and stuff. Commotion, right? So I realized that we humanity, we move faster when we still work with leaders, like alpha dogs, alpha female dogs, right? We are a collective species, so we need leaders. But I say, I'm not going to be this leader, because the biggest leader, the largest leader in the world that were able to mobilize millions and millions were Gandhi, or Luther King, those have John Lennon with music, but they all died, right? They were assassinated. I don't want to die doing that, so I'm not going to be this leader. But I realized that the best leaders to bring this commotion are kids. Nobody can say no to kids. So it was like 7, 8 years ago, a little bit more. And then Greta came, so everyone was thinking, oh, Edgard, it's so beautiful story. You're right, kids can do that, but it's not possible. They're just kids, right? And then now you're seeing amazing kids all around. They're not just Greta. You have thousands and thousands of Greta all over. In Brazil, more than 100,000 kids, they come to a big region. They occupy all the street, all the schools because they want a better education. They were 11, 12, 13. So they really literally stopped with this. In Colombia, they're doing the same. In Chile, they are stopping metro because of democracy. They are 10, 11, 12 years old. You can go online. But nobody really realized that there's this huge wave of teenagers all over the world marching, striking, delivering to make the change that they know that you're not going to do it. So for me, when I saw that it's not fair, and I realized that they were coming, because I know they're coming, as younger as possible, so they will make change, but I knew they would come by far to imitating us. They have a different mindset, different relation with gender, with race, with money, but they're still copying us in how to mobilize, how to make change. So they're copying us in marching, fighting, stuff. So we need to deliver them a new narrative. So what I started to do is designing a game, a superhero game. So think about myself. I say, what would I like that someone have done for me? So we all want to be superheroes. Every kid wants to be superheroes. I dream about that. So I tell them they are superheroes. Each one are from water, from fire, whatever. They choose that. But I tell them they have to collect not just a single superhero. It's not time anymore from Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Superman. The situation is so hard that even the superheroes, they are coming together, like the Avengers, like X-Men. They need a collective one. So kids understand right away. So I call them to do that and make the change they're looking for.
Really cool. So through commotion and playing superheroes, that's really cool.
Commotion, play, and an amazing story. We has to be fun. I say there's 4 Fs. Every invitation that you have to do for kids or for your friends, if you want to be successful, make sure that the invitation is fast. It's a promise, doesn't it be? It's a promise to be fast, because we have no time. We think we have no time. Has to be free. You're not allowed to use money, because you talk about money, you try to protect your money, so it has to be free, not allowed to use money, because it has to be impossible, superheroes. Has to be fun. Has to be super nice, otherwise your friend will not come. And the result has to be fantastic, because you have to save the planet. So it's a superhero journey. And we have no time for that. You know, you never saw Wonder Woman save the planet in 6 months. So Superman saved, the New York City in 8 months. They saved 1 day or 1 hour, right? And then they have to go back and go to the journal to play. And Superwoman goes to the museum, right? So we have to play. So how to tell a story that you can laugh as you did right now? Like, how can we tell a story for us, for ourselves, for everyone, a commotive story, exciting story that we all gonna say, I want to join. Like, you're gonna fight for leave your job, the same way that nobody has to convince you to go to Instagram, and you take as much time as you want there. So how to create a story or invitation, a narrative, a journey, an adventure that we all gonna join. Especially if our kids are there.
Okay. So I was listening previously about the power of relationships, and I think that's really a keystone. And you were talking about a museum. I can recall in Sir Ken Robinson's book, The Element, he talked very much about how we were trained to think about nature. If you go to a natural history museum, you have a whole section on butterflies, and you have the dinosaurs, and they're all separated. And one of the amazing things that he talked about was we don't design museums to actually emulate nature. Because in nature, it's all about the relationships. It's not just about the individual. So I was wondering, in this museum and in all of your understanding, is there a place for relationships?
I think it's all about it, actually. When we created Grupo Anga, which is our holding company, we thought, okay, this must be different from the past experiences at work that we had, because they sucked so much. And we're like, okay, it can't be like that. And then we made some major decisions for us. The first one is that we would absolutely, in no hypothesis, to have an office, a physical one. So decision number one is no offices. You can live wherever you want. This was in 2016. The second one was people need to be liberated from the corporate strings that suck their talents out and flip that coin so they could be something else, so they could flourish. And then the matrix is very simple. So the level of freedom has to be compatible with the level of responsibility. So what we would try to create were structures, organizational structures, so people could have a higher degree of autonomy because they have a higher degree of responsibility and the other way around. And that's when we used a lot of the self-management body of work, like sociocracy, holacracy, and all of that to create our own system. And then the magic happened because, just like you said, people started to see that and say, okay, I want to be part of that. And we said, why? And they said, because I know I am talented, but I don't want to live in São Paulo. I want to live in the forest. I want to live abroad. I want to live elsewhere. And we said, all right, you can live wherever you want. And then we started to attract a lot of people who were quite frustrated with what they were living in their previous jobs. And once that started, it was amazing to see how much a workspace can and should be a place for people to find how they can serve others, to transcend their own egos by collaboration, and to use all of their creativity, all of their talents, instead of trying to copy something else. So I think in this museum, the relationships at work are all about that. But beforehand, of course, this is very well connected with the education system. And we always make this joke because when I was in elementary school and in high school, I never chose anything. So I wouldn't choose what I would study, when I would study. I needed permission to go to the bathroom, which is okay at some point in life, but when you are 16, 17, I mean, come on, why can't I go to the bathroom when I want to? And after, I don't know, 18 years without making one single important choice in my life, the world tells me, okay, now I have to choose what you want to study in college. And we say, but I don't know how to choose. Why are you making me choose something? And then you choose anything, because you just don't know. Yeah. And then, in my case, I chose business because I thought it would be like the broader context that I could have. And then you go to university, and you still can choose a lot. You can choose a little bit more, but choice is not something that is part of your daily basis. And then when you graduate, they say, okay, now you choose a job, if you can. And they say, okay, I can't do that. And then you go work in a corporation, and you have to obey the orders of your superior. And you do that for a long time, and then at the end they said, you were so good at obeying that now you're going to be the boss. And you say, but I don't know how to do that. I only know how to obey. Yeah. And this is how we narrow down all the talent that we have in the world and the human waste that we have. So in the museum, it's not about the work itself, but it's about making people flourish. And I would love for people to see that schools back then looked like factories, that companies looked like prisons. And then they're going to say, oh, okay, it's unbelievable that the world was like that. Yeah, for sure. I was talking to an executive in preparation for an event tomorrow. And I asked him what his vision for the future was. And gladly, he was a father. So he said, my vision for a school in the future is like a gym. I want to pay a subscription, and I want to attend the classes I want to go to. And I'll do it with my own curatorship. And if I can have a personal trainer, that's great. But let me decide what I want to learn. And I'm having a lot of that coming from you. So it's empowering decision. Merlin, we have 5 minutes more, maybe 10. How do we empower decisions, and how is it different to empower decisions for girls, for women who are actually coming, and this is another thing which I hadn't understood until a very short while ago,
the job families that have been given to women over time are not the ones that are coming. And the ones that are being designed are much more prone to women. I think some women in the room might know about this. So it is really important to empower these decisions, but I wanted to understand, what is your perspective, how we can empower these decisions made by girls who will become women, who will become leaders for our new world?
Well, I believe this deeply connects with what Ryo and Edgard said about the collective narrative, and also how can we make the choice we want to ourselves. Here, our journey started 8 years ago, and we saw a deep problem. We saw girls missing school after they graduated from the 7th grade, and they didn't attend the secondary school because of some parts of our country. In Mozambique, it's culturally forbidden to go to school after you pass the 7th grade because you have to marry. So these girls saw their mothers, saw their aunts as their role models, and they grew up knowing that if I finish 7th grade with 12 or 14 years, I have to marry. But there's another reality. There's other girls from other provinces in the same region that don't face this type of decisions, don't face this type of, sorry to say, but cultural brutality. And this is where we saw the opportunity to join them, to be together as one, to have sisterhood circles, intergenerational circles of women that are graduated, of women that have a degree, of women that want to change the world, have projects, have a vision, and are out there trying. To sit with these girls that are still in the primary education and sit with the ones that are already in the university, to be these role models. And this mentorship approach has brought many results. Not just we have decreased the marital unions by 2%. We have also decreased the premature pregnancies. And it is all connected. We have to change the narrative. But to change the narrative, we have to showcase our talent. We have to showcase what we can do and actually do something about it, instead of just following the footsteps of our forefathers. It's not bad and it's not wrong to follow our tradition, but there are some things that have to be changed, need a change.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's really inspiring, Merlin. I have 3 or 4 minutes, so I want to propose something. You guys are not being paid to speak here.
Not yet.
So I think it's always a little bit unfair to not have some feedback from the audience, and I think we deserve that. So I'm going to flip this around. Now I'm going to ask from the audience what they took from this conversation. Okay, so I learned this at the IMD, so just know that this is very, very safe, okay? The dean at the IMD in Lausanne always closes the sessions by asking, what did you take from today? And the question is not what notes did you take, what citation do you remember, but what is your conclusion? What is the thing that you take for yourself from what we've heard today? It can be for either of the guests, or it can be in general. Please, over there, the beautiful lady over there. Yeah, let's maybe.
I was just trying to speak without microphone.
Yeah.
You know. So hi guys, thank you for the talk. What I take today, it's the value of freedom and the choices that we can make in our own lives. For girls and for women, I believe that this freedom is still very hard, because we are still very, very raised in a system, I mean in Africa of course, but also in Europe and across the world, in a system where we are not incentivized to know ourselves and to unleash our power. So freedom is really something that you need to learn. And thank you for speaking about choices and creativity and fun, because freedom has to have this pathway: fun, discovery, and self-knowledge. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We still have 6 minutes. We have a lot of sharing to do. Over here, thank you.
Hi, my English is not the best, but I will try. I like to focus a little bit more on the example from women or girls. I have my case. I'm here with my school, a group from my school, and I'm the only girl in here, the only one, and we are near to 20. So it's kind of complicated, but I really like the idea of the example. My mom didn't finish school, my grandma didn't finish school, and I'm Portuguese. Normally, now, I have to finish school, but in their time, I just don't have it. And I want to finish school because I understand that their lives are like ended, because they have the idea, okay, I didn't finish, now I need to marry. I have to find somebody who can do that for me. I don't need to do it alone. I can't do it alone. And nowadays, I think I can't do it alone. And I should be doing it alone. And it's really important for us to show it. Like, here in Portugal, I think we don't have much this problem. But in other countries, little girls are still being told, no, you can't be rich. You need to marry a rich guy. So I think we need to change that a little more for them and for us a little bit. Because I have a lot of sisters. We are 7. Wow. And we are all girls. And I would be like really sad if my younger sister, she's 3 now, if she just marry a rich guy, make her life, and the guy just run away, and she would be like lonely without anything because she didn't do it by herself. She do it because she had someone. And I do need to change this. So if I do it, maybe she will wanted to do it, or another person.
If you're able to do that, I'm sure that this was all worthwhile. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share? Don't be shy. I'll share. I was very touched by what Rebecca said. I think she's still in the room somewhere. Because I'm from South Africa. And sometimes when you try to build communities and they don't work, we don't realize the butterfly effect that we also talked about here. And Sixto Rodriguez is a very good example. The Sugarman, I don't know if you know his story. A musician that changed South Africa because of one lost record. And sometimes we don't even get to understand the story of the impact, the legacy that we are leaving behind. So I think that is one of the biggest drives for people in a room like today. We have no idea what we've just done, and that's marvelous. As long as we do it together, which I think is the greatest thing, and as long as we do understand that we do have a responsibility for the kids, not only the ones that are on the bus coming at 5:20, but all of them. So if this space and time could encourage you to share just one more conclusion, I think we still have 3 minutes, which will be worthwhile, especially for Marlene, who's trying to follow with us. Okay, there you go.
Maybe I'll go because I don't know if I will have closing remarks. But linking what we all heard about education, empowering women, and gender equity, I see just the overlaps and the importance of bringing in women and girls through education in the food systems to trigger that innovation, to have higher revenues and to have higher equity and make communities in the end better. So it all makes sense, and it's talking about interconnectedness. What yesterday was shared in the other room by Clara, I think, presenting the SDGs is okay, education, and then all the snowball effect. What if we don't even have the basic conditions of having a school, having enough teachers, etc., etc. So I think at the beginning of the value chain, there is also still some work to do. And going into the mediator role and the activist role, like, who can do this? Because in the end, we are standing in front of the shelf of the supermarket, facing the truth that Chris was talking about. Like, how are we changing our behavior? How does your food taste today? Like, even if you buy something, what's the real taste? Like, it's so much processed. Can we get back? And can that be a trigger? But that's, for me, in this speech that I give at the end of the value chain, who is in the beginning of teaching young women and bringing them empowerment, etc., and the right conditions, and who can do that. It just shows how everything is super interdependent. And here I am with my favorite words. It used to be radical collaboration, and now I'm going for radical interdependence, because it's just not collaboration only. It's realizing how much dependent we are one of another. The girls are depending of having right conditions, good teachers, and then everything can roll. But there is these dependencies, and that's the beauty and the complexity of sustainability, of regeneration. So that's, I think, in a nutshell, what I wanted to close the session. But
Thank you very much.
you have the last word.
I think that's great. Well, I think my last words are for you, my dear. Thank you for the effort. I know that it's extremely different to be in a room or to be behind a screen. You inspired many of us, just as your fellow colleagues, and I'm sure that we take a lot away today. But thank you for making the time, Merlin, and keep the good work up as well, okay?
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
So, and obviously the last of all words is a graceful nod to our sponsors. Thank you, Ageas, for making this conversation possible. And thank you for the generosity of your time. I think regenerate comes from the Latin word generare, which means to generate together. And I think that if we have allophilia, which is another Greek word which I love, which is the love for what is different. And if we use our tourist eyes instead of our cynicism, we might come together and make some fun and maybe be able to use our liberated power to make better choices and build a better life for all of us. Because I think the word sustainability for me is not really the real issue, it's longevity. We don't all grow on profit or in size. We transform, we evolve with each other. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you.